Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Automate Me Please podcast. Today, I'm joined by Emma Duncan. Unfortunately, Mike was not able to be with us today. His internet line is cut. So we have something a little different for you guys today. I hope you will enjoy it. Emma, how are you doing today? What's going on?
Life has been chaotic with school starting back up. I bet you feel that too. My husband's officially the principal at the school this year, so he's launched into that role, which means more from my family, right? But I'm also just a couple of weeks out from closing on not one, but two residential assisted living businesses in my area. So I know it's been a long time coming, right? I've been working on it since November. And I've been taking the time this weekend to dive into how to use tech and AI and automations in a unique way to help stimulate the brains of my residents, right? And to get activities in place. So that's kind of a bit of what I've been doing and what I'm excited about. What about you? How's life? What are you doing?
Awesome. Yeah, life is good. I'm into all sorts of things as always. Working on some client projects right now. Actually working on an old project that I had done years ago. Funny enough, and I'm being brought back in to help fix it up and get it up to date. So that's good. I've been digging into lately how to integrate these AI agents into our Go high level systems and things like that. And then the GPT-5 release was really it was really cool.
If we have time at the end, I definitely want to hear more about that.
Yeah, I can give you the summary of that. And some of it is just they consolidated some things. So we'll talk about that later for sure. But for folks who are watching today, the little special thing that we're going to do a little different today, I think, is get really into what you just mentioned, Emma, because you were talking to me earlier about this, about how you're trying to leverage AI in a very particular way inside of this, inside of the assisted living community, right? And you started talking about it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that is such a genius idea. And it's funny because that was born out of a previous conversation that we had. I think maybe we even mentioned it briefly on the podcast. For folks who maybe hadn't listened to this, we were talking about this app that's out there. I believe it's called StoryWorth, where people are encouraged to essentially answer a question a day, essentially about their own story. And it's a way to collect stories from a person's life over time, especially for loved ones. So we had that conversation, and then you took that and then you did something awesome with it. So let's hear what it is that you are looking to do. What kind of sparked all this in the first place? And then we can talk a little bit about maybe some of the logistics about what that would look like. And I can give you some of my perspective as a tech guy too.
So a couple of weeks ago, I went into the assisted living facilities and we had an open house where I could meet the residents that were there, the staff, and of course the providers. So we're thinking of practitioner nurses that are coming in and the individuals that are referring people to our house, right? Those kind of individuals that really make the business thrive. And while I was sitting there and we were having lots of discussions, there was a few things that came up. One, there's a library on site. And a lot of I would say almost all of the residents either have a short-term memory capacity or they don't remember what they read for long-term. They may not be able to sit there and read very long because their eyesight is going. So there's some health issues like that, right? But we have this giant library. And it's important to read. It's important to write. It's important to use that creative side of your brain, especially as you're aging. There's a lot of health benefits to that. And over the weekend, I was just contemplating all these things that I heard and thinking about the layout and the structure and also the lack of activities that my residents will have. And so I was chatting with ChatGPT and I was like, okay, what are some of the things that we need to have in place and what are activities that we should do? And of course, a book club came up. And I'm like, well, yes, if we were having a sit down book club, but that doesn't get around the fact that they're not able to read or they're not able to remember. So how do you reinstill the story throughout their week so that maybe it helps them remember, right? And ChatGPT actually helped me craft a 12-month plan with different books, some of them poems, right? Depending on the month, and activities that go with it. And then I asked ChatGPT, this is great, but I would love to use an Audible to be able to hear these stories, right? So that we started talking about having a device either in every room or at least one area where we can sit down and listen to a story together. We can have crafts, we can have food, whatever around it, right? But then as I was going down this, aha moment, right, of like Audible and recording and listening, I went back to my mind of the StoryWorth, that conversation that you and I had. And I was like, well, if we're already buying a device that we can say, hey, Siri, to play this Audible book, or hey, Siri, record me, right? Then I was like, this would be a fantastic way to grab a hold of the memories that are inside these individuals and pull them forward. And I'm looking at buying a device probably for every room, and then having them where they can say, hey, Siri, record me. And we'll have the question of the day from StoryWorth, right? So that'll be up there right by the device to remind them, this is the question of the day for you to answer. This is how you activate the device, right? So that's something that it's just going to help pull those memories forward. It's going to help them articulate what they're remembering in their brain, right? And to capture that. And to take it one step forward, I thought, well, what do we do with these recordings? Like, it's great for them to have that practice and to have that activity. But now I have all these recordings. What do I do with that? And I thought it would be a lovely idea to give families two options to, if they want to have their own StoryWorth book created, then they can pay for that subscription. I think it's like $99, and we can just plug all those questions in for them and then send them the book, right? Or they can pay per episode or per year for all of the recordings from that person, so they have their voice and the actually answering those questions themselves. And especially after a loved one passes away, that having that voice of that person hearing their own story, it not only means something like to say me, like if my grandma was still alive, like hearing her own voice would be a beautiful thing. But my children never got to hear my grandmother, their great grandmother, right? My oldest got to meet his grandpa one time, and it's like such a precious memory that I have. But being able to sit down and say, listen to this, like this is from, Grandpa Pa's voice, and he's telling you about something about himself, would be so moving, right? For the generations that never get to meet their grandparents to hear that. So a few ways of, making extra cash, yes, but more importantly, pushing them to speak, articulate, to memorize, and then share, and then being able to pass that on to their loved ones.
Man, that is so awesome, Emma. I love this. And there's actually layers of this to unpack, which is really awesome. I think the thing that I love most about this is that you are looking for ways to add value beyond just, here's a place where you can physically reside. Like, that is really, really neat. And I think really unique. Most people, when they talk about real estate, I at least from what I hear is, we're just trying to find a place for somebody to live. And, that is a really core, important piece of our day-to-day lives, is just having a place where we can lay our head down and rest, and maybe have a place of respite from the world. But when you encounter these different situations, like in your case, in assisted living, it totally makes sense to like build a community. It's a little bit more than just, okay, we're going to go, have this bedroom. It's no, you're providing additional value on top of that. So I love what you're doing. And I love the fact that you started with ChatGPT. So what prompted you to want to do that? Like what was the process like for you to go from, I mean, was it natural for you at this point given your current experience?
It's one of those things. It's like, if I have this idea, but I don't even know where to begin, I'm tired of trying to go to like Google or one of the other search platforms and then just getting ads or like something that doesn't really like apply to the true question that I'm asking. And so I've learned that either Claude or ChatGPT are the two that I go to. If I'm on a computer, I'm just going to automatically go to ChatGPT. But if I'm on the go, I have both apps, right? So it's just kind of up in the air. And I sat down and I simultaneously also had a podcast on about RALs, about residential assisted living businesses. And I was listening to that and it was kind of sparking ideas in my brain. And I have this, it's not a fear, but it's the unknown, right? That I want to find an answer to. This is the first time I've ever done this business. And I know I'm going to be great at it, but I don't even know some of the questions that I should be asking. And so I just started with, hey, chat, this is some things that I've heard going on that I know that I want to address. What are some other things that I need to take into consideration? Like, what activities should we be doing? What should we be offering? And then it just spirals from there, right? It was having that conversation with chat and going from one moment to the next moment and then following that leaf trail, if you will, to new ideas. So that's kind of how it unfolded. And I actually moved from my computer to my phone and kept the conversation going while I made my little one fall asleep last night. He kept saying, Mommy, I want you to play Sudoku, because that's his thing. Like, he watches me, he wants me to play Sudoku while he falls asleep. But I told him, no, just I have to finish asking chat something, right? So I'm like teaching him, like, you have to ask chat something, right? And he just fell asleep while I was doing it. But I went a step further and I was like, okay, woodworking. Like, what does that look like? Whenever woodworking is usually lots of tools, and how do you bring that down to a smaller scale? And in between chat and I talking, he was like, well, the school that your husband works at has a woodworking class. Like, can you partner with them, right? And then I was like, well, great. What about partnering with the school in other ways, or partnering with churches? And so we were going farther into like other activities and making plans for an entire year starting in September, because we're going to be closing in August, right? So I want to be able to launch it. And yeah, it was lots of fun working with chat on ideas. We'll see how many of them I get to actually put into effect.
Yeah. Well, and some of those ideas you could probably cycle through in seasons too, almost like semesters or something like that if you really wanted to. But that's so cool. So you used it as a tool to explore ideas. That's actually how I use it a lot too. Like as I run into problems, or I'm trying to figure something out and I want to explore an idea, I love to leverage these AI tools because they can pull from all these different sources and then they summarize down. Like you said a key thing there actually, which is funny because it's something that I literally thought, I think he was like today or yesterday. I was like, man, I don't want to use Google. Like, I have to go through all these articles and all this stuff to figure out what it is that I want. I can just go to ChatGPT and I can say, hey, I need to do this thing and give me, the really relevant stuff. And then it cuts out all of the extra time that I would spend to try to figure out these things.
And then to research pricing as well. So like when I was looking at devices, I was like, okay, well, what would that cost me? What does an Audible account cost me? What kind of device is best for individuals with hard hearing? Like, can we turn it up loud enough? Can they understand what Alexis is saying? And so it was teaching me to slow down the speaking of Alexis. You can do that, the speed. It was talking about you need to have it at an 8 or a 9 out of 10 for volume. Like, so it was letting me know step by step of what I need to do to set up this device for the recipient to be able to use it.
Dang, that is awesome. So it didn't just give you, oh, here's some ideas. Like it even like broke down for this specific case. This is what you can do to make it better for folks.
I love this device. And my concern is that they're not going to be able to, like, I don't want to spend all this money and they're not able to actually use it the way that I envision it. And so I prompted it one more time and I was like, is this something that I could have an issue with? And it came back and it said, actually, you want Series 5 or something like that of this device because it's the best for this kind of setup. And then it went into, okay, and this is how you need to set it up.
Wow, that's awesome. So when you were doing all this, did you like ask it also for problems? Like what could potential problems be?
I didn't, but you know what it did? It did tell me you need to have it seated on a table that's this far off the ground, probably near a seat so that the individual can sit. It reminded me that it's going to need to be having an electrical plug. And so it let me know like where that should be. It let me know how far away, no more than 6 feet away from where they're going to be speaking. So it needs to be within that 3 feet range of their voice to be able to pick it up. And it even reminded me of echoes. So if you're in a large room with the TV in the background or like a bathroom that has a lot of echoing, that wouldn't be the ideal place for it. So it did all that prompting on its own.
Wow, that's awesome. That is really cool. So at this point, you've gone through, you figured out kind of the overall game plan for the idea. So were you able to actually, and it gave you some suggestions on devices and things like that. Did it go into detail, or I'm not sure if you've gotten this far yet on it. Has it gone into detail yet on how you're going to be able to like set up your device and connect? Because you wanted to like connect it to StoryWorth as an example, right? So how does that look?
That's something that I would love to dive in with you. But I did pause because I was thinking at first, let's just have a story corner, right? Just one device, go the cheapest route. One device in the library, like we're going to be able to sit down, make it a very magical little area. But then I thought, well, they're going to be saying, hey, Siri, record. And majority of them are going to forget to say their name, right? And I'm like, how do I know who is who on a recording? So I was like, well, it needs to be in their room by their bed. And I can assign that device with their name on it, right? And that way, when it records, it's all going to a collective space, but it's letting me know it's coming from Kyle's device. It's coming from Dari's device, right? It's coming from the individual's device. So it lets me know what voice I'm hearing to be able to organize that on my end and make sure that the right person's recording is going to the right family. But I paused there and I didn't dive into automations when it comes to taking that voice recording to text. And then can we automate it into plugging it into StoryWorth? I did not go that far into it. I thought that would be awesome if I can do that eventually. But if the concept works, I might just have to plug it in by manually at first. But if there is a way that your brain thinks that like we can make that automate into the system, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. I think there might be a potential couple ways to do it. Some of my familiarity with some of these devices is limited, but I imagine, I think, so this is kind of where you almost have to break down the steps of, well, how does each service work? And then you got to figure out, okay, how do you connect these things? And I think like StoryWorth in particular, you have to like log in. I think they may also send you like an email once a day or however often the frequency is that you set it up for. And it may have the question in there and stuff. So if that's the case, you might be able to pull some of that from an email. If you connect like their email to the voice activated system. And then when it records, you're going to have it like store in a separate location. You'll have to build out, I think, an automation to then take that and then put it into the StoryWorth system.
And I don't want to pay for that, process until I know that the family actually wants it, right? Because it's $99 per account. And it's like, well, I'm not going to create an account for all of my residents if I don't know that the family is going to want the book in the end, right? So I'm capturing the data, I'm saving it, and if they want the book, then we would subscribe. It might be something that I might have to call StoryWorth and say, this is something that I'm wanting to do. Would you craft something where it's one email login, different projects and see if they've done that for other clients or if that's something that they would want to do. Because, I mean, who knows? Maybe this is an idea that they are like, this is ingenious, and now we can market it to every assisted living facility that's out there.
Yeah. I think that would be worth contacting them about, because you do need almost a management system of some sort. I could think of a way to jerry rig it though. You could to basically create your own version, and it would mean that you're not relying on StoryWorth's system of asking the questions and things like that. But you could probably have ChatGPT actually help you come up with all the questions. If I could take a wild guess, I bet you could say, like, hey, can you generate the questions that should be sent? And, maybe it's put into a spreadsheet, for example. And every day when somebody goes through it, it just marks that as done. That one is done. And then you have a location that you saved the voice recorded file temporarily, like in Google Storage or something like that. So there's a little bit of engineering that would have to be done, I think. But you may actually be able to do it with like a make.com or an N8N or something like that. So it just depends on how comfortable you are with automation tools.
Well, I'm going to get there. I'm going to push myself. This is a great opportunity, right? I know that Chat had shared that there was, a different way where you can manually make your own books instead of having, the actual company make it for you. But then that would be, I don't know if that's something that could be, I'd have to look into it, right? Because if it could be automated, then great. Then like we have a template and we automate it and it goes into it. I don't know if you've ever used like Shutterfly, Shutterbook, or whatever it's called, where you can make your own portfolio pictures and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes the quality isn't always great. Sometimes it is and sometimes it's not, right? So I want to know whatever that quality is of that book that is being offered is high quality. Like if we have to go through StoryWorth to get the high quality binding and everything, then great. But if there's another way that we can do it outside of them, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, I haven't used those services in particular, but you could do it in all sorts of ways, probably. Like any kind of image templating type system, you could do those things for sure. So yeah, it's really just, I think, a question of how you want to set it up at the end of the day. But I would probably start with StoryWorth first and just reach out to them and ask, hey, hey, this is kind of what I want to do. Are we able to like set something up like this using your system for part of it? And, the worst they can say is no. And it's always better. Right. It's always better if you can leverage existing platforms first. Reach for existing tools, and then build on top of that.
Yeah, it was been really fun talking with Chad, because like I went down the rabbit hole of like if we partnered with the school or any school, right? It doesn't have to be the school that is my husband's. But I had ChatGPT. Like I said, I have 12 months of reading content build out. And then it aligned the woodworking project based on that topic. And then it let me know what grades, if I had them come in and help with this project, which projects need like a 6th grade through 8th grade, and what projects can maybe be a 4th or 5th. And a lot of the woodworking related stuff, K through 3, it's probably too hard at this point. But it was like, well, if you're making a memory box or a love letter box, then maybe the younger grades could craft something and put it in there, right? Like paint a picture or something and already have it to put it in there. Creating a small potted plant kind of bed, right? Well, having the younger kids come in and actually help plant, herbs in it during that month would be something that they could do that would also like tie in that multiple generation and have them come into the facility. So I loved how working with ChatGPT was like, sure, multiple ages. Now let's talk about like what are those grade breakdowns that you see in your school and what activities really apply to that age group to be helpful. Or, hey, this project has lots of screws. You don't want a first grader around that many small items, right? So, so many things that you can do with ChatGPT and create, like I said, an entire year's worth of content and material and projects.
Wow, that is so cool. That is so neat. And like there's a couple other pieces here too. Like, so we talked a lot about ChatGPT, but from an AI perspective,
yeah,
like there's more stuff going on in this whole idea that you have, right?
Yeah.
Like the Siri system or or whatever you're using, the Amazon Echo or whatever. That's got AI built into it, like to be able to do the voice stuff. You could probably also set up, I'm in the voice AI space right now for like phone systems, for like phone AI receptionists, right? So you could probably even take it a step up if you wanted to build something yourself from scratch and have something a little bit more interactive with these new voice AI enabled systems, to have conversations. So it's not even just one, you could do more than just one question. You could actually set up an AI that asks the initial question, and then it has a follow-up conversation with them, and it helps them talk through their story and ask follow-up questions and stuff like that as it pertains to that story. So you could do some of that. And then there's another piece that you said, like record, a loved one's voice for the future so they know what they sounded like. You and I have talked about this before, and I think you actually maybe are the one who brought up the idea when we were talking about 11 Labs, but you could take those voice recordings, and then you could do a voice clone for people and have that voice clone read stories for your kids or for their grandkids or whatever. And like you could add services on like that, so it becomes like even more special.
I think that was that full conversation we had a while back, right? Where it was like, I would love to take my mom's voice and clone it and then put it over a story that maybe Dariush loves and have it where he can listen to it at any point. Or like my sister, he loves listening to my sister sing to him, right? And so it's like, is there a way that eventually can we get there where AI can clone somebody's voice and then sing a song to him? There is a device for children that has cards, right? We were talking about this, like where you put the card in the device and then it reads that story to you. It's like, well, is there a way that we can have different cards for different stories that, then triggers like grandma can have 5 stories, right? And they can choose when they want to listen to it and flip through it versus just on your iPhone or your iPad. So there's so many unique things that are out there. It's like, how can we piggyback on that, right? Like, can we contact that company and say, I want to do this. Can you work with me and create something unique for my residents? And it really comes back to what sets your business apart, right? Not only like, yes, the whole thing started off with how do I push my residents and make sure that they have healthy brains and are physically active and provide services for them that keep them engaged. But then it's also, okay, now that we're doing this, yeah, we can have puzzles. Every assisted living place probably has a couple puzzles. Every single one is probably legally supposed to have the local newspaper, a few, magazines on site that they change out. Like, you'd be surprised. That's like a legal mandate that they have to follow, is to have regular updated content for them. But that's everyone. Like, what are we going to be doing that's different? And how do we bring our services into the new age of technology and use those to provide services in a unique way that sets us apart, right? Because if we can do that, then we're not just one of the other many options in this area. We are the option that's doing unique stuff, that thinks forward thinking of ways to provide not only for my mother, but also for us. Like we're able to take something away from this as well.
That's awesome. You got me thinking about other ideas for your use case, actually. Like how do, obviously you've got to have staff there, right? What are some of the things that your staff would typically do day to day that, and maybe we just start there, because like sometimes, like when for myself as a technical person, if I just hear something like, oh, this is a thing that has to happen every single day, like then comes the idea brainstorming of, oh, well, we might be able to do this, or maybe we could do this, and automate this piece and make this a little better. So what are some of like the common things that you might see in your business?
Our caregivers are also making the meals, right? Because it's a small, and there's only up to 10 residents in one house, right? So you're going to have two individuals on each shift. And so you have 2 to 3 shifts in a day. So you have max, you have 6, staff individuals that you're working with. So independent on what time of the day it is, but there's 3 meals a day. They're making sure that the residents are checked in on, that they're moving, that they're not laying in their bed the same position, right? They don't want to get bed sores, that they're able to get to the restroom if they've had accidents, that they're getting cleaned up, and all that is taken care of. There's medicine that is, given out at certain times of the day based on what their chart says that they need. Of course, there's a system in place for that, for checking out of medicine and all of that, right? Other than that, it's just being available and listening and caring for the residents. And that's where, if you can afford it, or if you as the operator owner can give some of your time, you start to add those extra values of activities and calendars. One of the things I've learned with Dariush, individuals with Down syndrome need routine. And when I was at the open house, I was sharing a little bit about him, and somebody piped up and they said, it's the exact same thing for the elderly. Like, they need routine. They go from having busy lives to at some point being put into a house that they can go outside, but it's fenced. They can only go so far, right? So you begin to feel confined, and then you begin to feel like you're even confined to your room, and then you're just confined to your chair with your TV on, and then you lose sight of everything. So how do you get them, just like Dariush when he was at the hospital, how do you get the individual out of their room, interacting with other people, and stimulating not only their brain, but also their body for function? And if the caregivers can add that to them, great. But if they're busy with taking care of health and safety and food, then it's up to the owner manager to either hire in an activities coordinator or do it themselves. So that is what I'm thinking. We also need to do marketing. So marketing is something that I feel like AI automation should be in effect. I'm wanting to bring in a drone and do some visual shots and bring that, like a marketing video to light, because a lot of families these days really want to feel like they can walk through a facility and see what it's like, and not just have to go from house to house to house and walk through every house personally. I even heard that from the providers that were there, like, we need updated pictures, and if you have a visual walkthrough of some sort, my lenders are asking for that. We want to see this, right? So yeah, that's just another area of AI automation tech that needs to be harnessed for this business.
Man, okay, you gave me I have so many ideas, Emma. This is exciting. Like, okay, like, I love this. So the walkthroughs. Have you looked at getting like 3D imaging cameras?
I have. Well, usually you see that on like real estate, right? Where like you can have a 3D walkthrough camera of like a a house, right? So there has to be somebody in the area that already has that technology that can provide a service.
Oh yeah, definitely. That you could hire somebody to do it. You could also buy the equipment yourself. Like it's a couple $100 or something like that. Yeah, it's more of a time thing, like because you have to set it up and then you have to move it to the next location and move it through your facility. But you could totally build out a whole map of of your building, and then you could put that up on a website or something for, maybe you don't put it up like in a public space for everybody to see right away, but it's for like people who are really inquiring, and they want to know more details. Like then you give them access to be able to go through and like walk through digitally. I bet that would be really handy for people who are also like more remote, like maybe somebody who's not like super close to your location. So you could totally take advantage of that. That would be great. And then, there was a couple other ideas in there. Like you're already doing some of it, I think, with using like ChatGPT to help you come up with different ideas for activities. You might be able to set up like voice mode in ChatGPT, and we're just talking about ChatGPT. There's probably lots of other tools out there that people could use, but if you had to just use one tool, you might be able to use like ChatGPT in its voice mode to set up like audio, like audio activated games and stuff like that.
It's something that's light and airy. It can be white, but it can be dark. What am I? Right? Like something like riddles like that, right? It's like, oh, it could be a cloud because the cloud is light and airy, but if it was full of rain, it would be dark, right? It's like the prompt of like, let's do riddles right now. Like, what am I kind of game.
Yes, that's perfect. Like, yeah, game like audio driven games like that you could use as an activity. You could set up a voice AI as like a personal assistant inside of the rooms where if somebody needed something, they could ask for it and then it could either go do a thing, like put it into your system or like trigger something, or even maybe call, like, cause I could imagine an emergency scenario where maybe somebody needs help and, typically you'd have like a button you can press, but if you can't press a button, maybe you can call for help and the AI can like then call the person to the room and say, hey, this person is calling from this room. Something like that.
I was thinking about that earlier when you were already talking about that voice, like the voice recording that you do, right? It's like, well, that could be used in some way within that room where if they're like, hey, I fell, or I'm out of toilet paper, or I just had an accident, or hey, I'm hungry, I can't remember what we're having for dinner. How far out is that, right? It can either answer that question if it has the schedule of the day or the menu of the day, or it can prompt into the staff area to go attend to them.
Yeah, you can hook it up to all your systems that you have in place, as long as there's proper integrations that can be made, and it could do a lot of that stuff. And so you could automate away those pieces.
But if it's open air, like if it's connecting then to our system, like is there a way of firewalling that and keeping it safe, right?
Yeah, there would be. What you would do is make sure it's all running on the same network. So that's how you would wall it off. You don't make those things publicly accessible. But that's a good call. Yeah. So you could totally do that. And actually, there are some, as we're getting more and more improvements in the AI space, like a lot of that type of stuff, the security piece particularly, is getting better because we're now moving into this period of time where we're able to start hosting these large language models and these voice AI models on our own devices. So as we're able to host these on our own devices, then we can put them in like a a network that's closed off from the rest of the world. It doesn't have to go out to the internet, which improves the security overall.
Would you rather get like an Echo device, or would you get an iPad for every room? Because then that iPad is its own device that can be protected from outside, right? Because I don't think an Echo would be able to be blocked off in that way.
Yeah, the Echoes are typically paired with the services, like the Amazon services behind them. They do have some stuff that's built in that runs within the network. Anything that needs to internet access, like if you're asking questions about, hey, what's the weather today, stuff like that, those are types of things that will reach out to the internet. So, I think it may not be a question of, should I do this versus this? It may be a question of, hey, are there ways to lock down this particular device in certain ways that maybe you can like cut off certain permissions. That would be a thing that you need to look at the settings for sure. But if you needed to ever, let's say the Echo device didn't work, then, I could see a scenario where you have something like an iPad that maybe, you're able to restrict certain things. And then maybe like eventually you have your own voice AI system, your model that runs on a server somewhere inside of your building, and then it's interacting with that, and then you can secure, you can cut off certain things, like, don't reach out to the internet for only these things, or you isolate your data.
But in this case, you're talking about the aged community and keeping them safe from the greater web, if you will.
Right. And particularly the data in your system, because there's things in that system that you wouldn't want exposed to the internet.
Right.
So some of that's a combination of making sure the system itself is properly secured, and then some of it is if you start adding things on like voice AI tech,
right,
that can integrate it with it, like that needs proper permissions too. So you could in theory have like separate voice AI models that are running, and each one has access to only a certain set of permissions to do certain things. So that way you don't end up in this situation where it causes something catastrophic to happen, because it can do all the things.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very tempting to want to do that, but you're always better off like giving limited permissions to any kind of program that you create. So I had one more idea there, actually. So how is and I got to preface it with a question. So when you're doing your meals, how are your meals decided?
I don't know that yet. I know that they make a whole week schedule. And I think it really comes around nutrition, but also who's on staff, right? So there's an individual that I was told she makes amazing tamales, but she was on vacation, and so they couldn't have that on the schedule or whatever for that time. But then it's just handwritten onto a whiteboard and up there I think it's actually printed, because they have to save them. So they tack up the print for that week of what the schedule is, or the meals are. And then when that week's done, you actually have to file that away and save it in case you get audited.
Okay. So there's a couple things there you could do with some tech too. So you could use AI to help you brainstorm meals and search the internet for recipes. That would be one way to do it. And then you could also build out systems. It might still make sense to like print them out just for like a secondary storage, but like you could have a system that has like a database of your recipes, and it's tied to a calendar and things like that. So you could actually go back and see, on this day we had this meal.
It's a board. It's a family calendar board. It's like you can interact with it. I don't know if you've seen these, right? Where it replaces all the stuff that's on your refrigerator that you have at and it's the whole family calendar, and it's like up on a digital board. You could do something like that, right? Like where that is in your main area, it shows the menu, but it also shows the activities that are coming up that day and so on and so forth, right? Kind of go that route of AI and scheduling, right? Because if you're doing all the scheduling and stuff on your computer, then you can, instead of printing it, making it pretty, doing all this stuff to it, like it just goes into that database that is showing up on that screen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be, and you may not even need AI for that piece. It could just be a straightforward like calendar system. You may even be able to use Google Calendar. um, you'd want a separate system where you can create, like, you need some way to manage all the information, obviously, for audit purposes. But yeah, like that's a great use of tech, and you make that available and easy. You make it easy to use, maybe on like maybe it's a touchable interface of some kind, like how they have those big TVs that it's like a step up from a tablet, like they're giant screens. You could have something like that, so it's easy to see and people can touch through it and they can see like, oh, this was what's on the schedule. So yeah, that's another thing you could use all these little bits of tech for to help facilitate that process, so it's a lot faster and easier to manage.
I was talking with my sister who is in college. She went back to college for development, right? And she's specifically looking at therapies and whatnot for individuals with Down syndrome and in that kind of area, right? Because of Dariush and that passion that she has. But we were chatting about getting grad students who then get their own funding to come on site and plant a garden or a greenhouse based on the nutrition that the elderly need in their diet, right? So it's not even like we're not even paying for this, but we're offering the opportunity for a grad student to come in and create this and to study what this impact has. And then we end up having a garden that can be used for our residents, right? Then you tie that into, well, we're wanting to have more gardening and gardening club for a job for the residents, right? How do we track that? Well, it would be nice to have a tablet or something that ties into the growth plans and when was the last time it was watered and all of that, right? So that tech that goes into gardening and being able to have the residents just click that and see, okay, my task for today is that I need to water the tomatoes and I need to trim the leaves off of this particular banana tree or whatever, right? To keep it healthy. And that can be actually monitored by the resident, the college student, right? From afar. They don't even have to be on site. They could be the ones that are like, okay, these are the things that need to happen based on the technology I'm seeing coming out of my garden, right? So there's all these like crazy ideas, and their technology can make something that is so complicated or hard to remember and make it bite-sized for an individual that's already like losing capacity with their body or their memory, to give them a job or to give them an activity that they still feel like they own something in their day and that they have a responsibility and that they can take a part of this house that they're stuck in and make it theirs, right? Like they want to own it, right? It's very important to have that mindset and not just feel like you're stuck in a box and your life is over, right? Because we want that.
Right.
So technology, partnering with colleges, partnering with schools, like there's so many ways to enhance a residential assisted living building, a business, and you just have to use chat to get it out of your head and make a plan and then act on it, right?
Man, this is awesome, Emma. I really, we're not even going to get to the GPT-5 stuff today. Like this was golden.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to label this episode like assisted living and in some way, like with assisted living plus AI, or I don't know, something creative. I'll use chat for it.
Golden nuggets for the silver tsunami. There you go.
Ooh, that's good. I like that. But this was so good because this was such a practical example of how can we think through different problems in a very niche business, and then bring the proper amount of automation to it. There's all these ideas that we were able to brainstorm together. But, you may go through a lot of them and be like, you know what, like that's too much. Like that's too much overhead. Or maybe that's like a 5-year goal. This thing is a 5-year goal. And this thing is like, nah, this is an immediate need, And I know you're probably going to get into that business and then realize you're going to start seeing our time, our employees' time are getting sucked up in this one particular thing. So we need to address this thing. Or, man, like the residents are really suffering with this piece. So let's go address this piece and make this better. So we're kind of just chipping, the tip of the iceberg. But I think it's so neat that there's so much space for innovation, and maybe it doesn't even involve a bunch of tech. Maybe it's just a more thoughtful approach to the business.
We will see for sure. I know that I'm eager to get in there and see what systems they already have in place, right? And what tech they're already using. Because I've heard in other podcasts and things that I've been reading that there are newer systems that track everything and make it easy. And it helps you be able to not worry about when you get inspections. Like every box is checked. Every communication has happened, down to the point of like being able to get censored if something happens in the room and get notified just automatically, right? But I don't know if that kind of technology was really built for a 10-bed facility or a 100-bed facility, right? I don't know if it's worth that kind of device. So, in the future, when I hear what we're doing and what we have in place, like it might be one of those situations where I'm like, hey, Kyle, did you hear about this other technology that's out there that it's a new system and, I'm thinking about using it. What are your thoughts? But we'll see.
Yeah, the compliance piece is super important. Like just from hearing from some other industries about various compliance, whether it's related to insurance or whether it's related to like HIPAA laws or whatever it is, like it is so important that you have a good system in place to be able to manage compliance. So hopefully that system is meant for your 10-bed and it just makes everything run smooth.
That's a fear that I hear people is like, what state should I have an RAL in that is easy? The regulations are easy. And you're like, no, you don't want that. The more regulations you have a book in place that says, do this, do this, do this, right? And as long as you're loving on your residents, taking care of them, then you should be able to hit all those boxes, really. Like it's not a worry that you should have. The more regulations that you have, I feel like it kind of just gives you a storybook that you're supposed to follow. If you have a system that helps you track those, makes life even easier.
Systems. I love a good system, whether it's a process or whether it's a piece of tech. Man, this was such a good conversation, Emma. Thank you for cracking open the book here for us to kind of dig into some of these pieces. I have a feeling that a lot of people who listen to this today are going to really enjoy a lot of the ideation that happened and really enjoy getting to listen in on what are some of the challenges and things that you're thinking through as you're looking for ways to add value to this business that you're acquiring. So I think we'll end it here for today, but I want to congratulate you on your upcoming acquisition as you're finishing up the process. And I look forward to hearing how, things evolve over time and what you learn. Awesome. All right, y'all. Well, thank you for joining us today for the Automate Me Please podcast. As always, it was a pleasure to hang out with you guys. We love digging into these concepts around AI, automation for your business to help you get back your time and grow. If you enjoyed the podcast today, we would love to hear from you. There is a form that is linked in the description of this video. Please go fill that out. And if you've got suggestions for us for topics that you'd like to see us cover, maybe we can improve something in the video, improve the experience. Please let us know in that feedback form. If you loved it, let us know so that way we can keep on doing what we're doing. We want to help you guys dive into this realm of AI and automation so that way you know how to take advantage of this for whatever use case that you're facing. So thank you again for watching. Hope you guys have a good one. Thank you, Emma. Take it easy.